Hello everyone! Today I'm going to show you and give you some tips on how I draw this short-haired dog. At first I intended this to be a quick sketch where I focused on drawing the nose, but it turned into the whole drawing of the dog. So it is a little different start, although I make it work by correcting my mistakes as I go. I always start a drawing of recognizable objects by comparing vertical and horizontal lines. I think as if there were a grid, in this case over the dog. I line up a straight horizontal next to a feature I have already drawn. In this drawing, I started with the nose and the jowls. I placed my line down to see what other features or space it lines up with. Then I sketch in the lines I need, constantly comparing the space on my paper to the space on my picture. Back and forth, I move my eyes. Once I have those lines down, I grab my 6B pencil and I start filling in all of the really dark areas I see around my dog's eyes and in the nose and any of the features that I see in the picture that are dark. So right down by the mouth, I start to concentrate on the edge of that line. And when I do the mouth, I have little flecks, little tick marks I call them. The nose is really an area that needs texture. If you really look at a dog's nose, you almost see little circles. So when I'm drawing in the nose, I actually use my pencil and create these tiny little circles. And I do lift up on my pencil in certain areas, and I push down on my pencil so that I get that variation of value. And now I'm going into the muzzle right underneath the nose, and I'm looking at where the whiskers come out of. There is a darker spot there, and usually those spots line up in little rows. And that's true with this dog. So I continue kind of going down and around, and my fleck marks, or those tick marks that I talk about, are going in the direction of the dog's fur. So when you do any area of your animal, you are looking at the direction of the fur. Make sure that you're drawing how you would pet your animal. Now this dog has a significant highlight on him. So when I go in between the eyes, I'm drawing those little flecks of fur upwards. And I keep going upwards as I'm filling in the area. Right now at this stage, I'm just using my pencil. So I'm getting in some of the details of the fur. Although what I will do is I will switch over to my blending stump, and I will use my blending stump as if it were a pencil. It has that graphite on it, and it will come off exactly like it would if you were drawing with a pencil. The only thing that's really different about that blending stump is that you can get a smoother line from it. You're going to be able to get the direction of the fur with it, so you don't just go over your drawing with the blending stump in different directions. Make sure you are still literally drawing with it. You can see me doing that here, rotating back and forth between my pencil and my blending stump. The blending stump helps me build up a layer of value underneath and keeps the little flecks of fur on top, which will create the fur in the detail and texture. The reason why we're using these different tools, our blending stump and several different pencils, our eraser, is because we want to create the texture of that fur. We don't want the animal to appear as if it doesn't have any fur and it's super smooth. We also don't want to have the animal appear to be very rough. So we layer up our values. We put down a layer first, and you continue to go back over it with detail with your pencil. Now I'm getting into the ear, and I'm actually finding these little areas in the ear that show detail. Again, I start with my very dark areas, and then eventually I'll go in and use my blending stump to blend some of that. In this drawing, I move around a lot. Sometimes I like to start from the eye or the nose and radiate from there. The features are something that's going to really help anchor your drawing. So, you can get into real detail right around the eye and notice how the fur goes in certain directions around the eye and down below the eye, and the same thing with your nose. So this is a little atypical of how I kind of normally would create a drawing. Although this is how many artists like to work. They like to see a broader spectrum of what they're drawing, and then they go back in with the details. I suppose I like to use both methods. One thing is, I do think a good tip is starting with one of the features and radiating a bit from one of the features. Now I'm going to focus on one of the eyes. So I get in there with my B pencil and I'm looking for the real dark areas of the pupil. Make sure your eyes are clear. You do not want to have an animal that has black holes for eyes. Your eyes are going to be one of the most important things that you draw on this portrait. When we look at anybody or any animal, anything with eyes, that is where we look. At people's eyes. When you address someone, where are you looking? At the person's eyes. When we look at a photo or a drawn picture, it's the same thing. So make sure that your eyes have detail. They have highlight. They have light. Doing this will make your animal come to life. Now I begin working around the whole face to get a general value down. I'm going to put a little more pencil down, making sure it goes in the direction of the fur, and then changing over to my blending stump, doing the same thing. This is how I build up the value, especially on the right side of the face where I am now. That is the darker side of the face. So I have to go back and forth, switching between my blending stump and my number 2 pencil and my B pencil. This is the part I always have people ask me about, is should I draw my dog with their collar on or not? And what I say to them is, if your dog wears a collar all the time and they're known with that collar, absolutely put that collar in there. Think about it being almost like a piece of jewelry or their necklace. It will be something that reminds you of your dog. This dog has some light fur right underneath its chin, on its chest. So I'm putting a light value in with my blending stump, and I'm going to have little pieces of fur come before the collar. So it looks like he's furry around his collar. And I achieve that look of the fur coming over the collar by using that value, that light value underneath, and my eraser, and erasing out little tiny bits of fur and going back in with my sharp number 2 HB pencil. I choose many times when I do a pencil drawing of an animal not to finish off the body completely. So I will vignette the body out to nothing, basically. I'll fade it. In the background, sometimes, if the area is very light next to the animal's face or body, I will fill in the background with a dark value and blend that out. In this case, I can leave the background white. I'm just making some finishing touches to complete my drawing. It's a good idea to practice the animal's features before getting into a whole drawing. You can watch my video, 8 Tips How to Draw a Dog's Eye, to give you some precise tips to help create bright, dynamic eyes for your pet portraits. I'm going to list this right up in the right-hand corner for you so you can click on that when we're done here. I also recommend another one of my short videos if you're having trouble with fur and whiskers. It's called Easy Way How to Draw Realistic Whiskers. Art is about style, expression, courage, and I believe a self-gratifying feeling of accomplishment. I hope all these videos inspire you and help you create your own uniqueness in drawing your animal portraits. Thanks for watching. See you next time.